Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Annisa Riafani Sahida from 5C class English Education Department, and in this occasion I would like to explain about the nature of inquiry set in the field. The first is the search of the truth, defined by Kierkegaard as the systematic control, empirical and critical investigation of hypothetical proposition about the presumed relation among natural phenomena. First, research is systematic control. 2. Research is empirical, and 3. Research is self-correcting. Barrel and Morgan. For such assumption, the first is ontological kind. Epistemological kind assumption concern human nature, in particular, the relationship between human beings and their environment. Methodology. Positivism. The speaker is Auguste Comte. He is the first thinker who used positivism for a philosophical position, and his position was a general doctrine of positivism, which had a genuine knowledge is based on sense experience and can be advanced only by means of observation and experiment. Supposition identified by Giddens. First, the methodological procedure of natural science may be directly applied to the social science. 2. The end project of investigation by social scientists can be formulated in terms parallel of those natural science. The assumption and nature of science. The first is determinism. Second is empiricism. The third is parsimony, and the fourth is generality. The tool of science. The concept. Two important points to stress when considering scientific concept. 1. They do not exist independently of us. 2. They are limited in number, and in this way contrast with the infinite number of the phenomena they are required to explain. 2. Hypothesis. 4 reasons for the importance of hypothesis as tool for research. A. They organize the effort of researchers. B. They are, in Calendar's word, the working instrument of theory. C. They can be tested. D. They enable us to get outside. The scientific method. This is the egg of scientific method. Stage 1, hypothesis, hunts and guesses. Stage 2, experimental design, samples taken and variable isolated. Stage 3, correlation observed, patterns identified. Stage 4, hypothesis from to explain regulation. Stage 5, explanation and prediction test, falsifiability. Stage 6, laws developed or disconfirmation or hypothesis rejected. Stage 7, generalization made. Stage 8, new theories. Next, what is phenomenology, ethnobotany, and symbolic interactionism? Phenomenology is a theoretical point of view that advances the study of direct experience taken at face value, and which sees behavior as determined by the phenomena of experience rather than by external objective and psychically described reality. Ethnobotany. Ethnobotany is a concern with how people make sense of their everyday world, and ethnobotany also seeks to understand social accomplishment in their own terms. It is concerned to understand them from within. Symbolic interaction. Symbolic interaction has 3 basic postulates. 1. Human beings act toward things on the basis of the meanings they have from them. 2. Attribution of meaning to object through symbolic is a continuous process. 3. The process takes place in a social context. Criticism of positivism and the scientific method. Positivism. What is positivism? Positivism is a philosophical theory that holds all genuine knowledge is either positive posteriori and exclusively derived from experience or natural phenomena and their properties and relation are true by definition that analytic and tautological. The first criticism from Nasrid-Tucson. The precise target of the anti-positivist attacks been science mechanistic and reductionist view of nature which by definition defines life in measurable terms rather than inner experience and exclusion of choice, freedom, individuality, and moral responsibility regarding the universe as a living organism rather than a machine. The next is Horkheimer, critique of positivism as the mathematization of concepts about nature. Rozak, who argues that science is in its pursuit of objectivity is a form of alienation from our true self and from nature. Giddens. One is that it fails to take account of our unique ability to interpret our experience and represent them to ourselves. In failing to recognize this specific social science is said to ignore the profound differences between itself. Social science, unlike natural science, the difficulty in which positivism finds itself is that it regards human behavior as passive, essentially determined and controlled, there be ignoring intention, individualism, and freedom. Alternative to positivistic social science. Naturalistic approach. The approach to analyzing social episodes in terms of the actors themselves is known as the ethogenic method. As an alternative to positive approach, naturalistic qualitative interpretive approaches of various processes particular distinguishing features. People are deliberate and creative in their action. People actively construct their social world. They are not the culture's dupes or passive dolls of positivism. Situations are fluid and changing rather than fixed and static. A question of terminology, the normative and interpretive paradigms. The normative paradigms is that human behavior is essentially rule-governed. Second, that it should be investigated by the methods of natural science. Interpretive paradigms is characterized by a concern from the individual. Characteristic of the naturalistic and interpretive approach. Bernstein's criticism is directed at the overriding concern of phenomenologists and ethnomethodologists with the meanings of situation and the way in which these meanings are negotiated by the actor involved. Critical theory and critical educational research. The purpose of critical educational research is instantly practical to bring about more just egalitarian society in which individual and collective freedom are practiced, and to eradicate the exercise and effect of illegitimate power. Habermas construct the definition of worthwhile knowledge and modes of understanding around three cognitive interests. 1. Prediction and control. 2. Understanding and interpretation. 3. Emancipation and freedom. In the world of education, Habermas states are paralleled by Smith, who denotes a four-stage process. 1. Description. 2. Information. 3. Confrontation. And 4. Reconstruction. Criticism of approaches from critical theory. Morrison. More recent criticism suggests that there is an artificial separation between Habermas' three interests. They are drawn far more sharply. Criticism from Roderick. For example, question whether the espousal of ideology critiques itself ideological as the approaches that it proscribes. Criticism from Bernstein. Famous comment that education cannot compensate for society. Critical theory and curriculum research. Taylor's famous and influential rationale for the curriculum in terms of four questions. 1. What educational purpose should the school seek to attain? 2. What educational experiences can be provided that are likely to attain this purpose? 3. How can these educational experiences be effectively organized? 4. How can we determine whether these purposes are being attained? In the field of critical pedagogy, the argument is advanced that educators must work with and on the lived experience that students bring to the pedagogical encounter rather than imposing a dominatory curriculum that reproduces social inequality. And this is a table of the three paradigms: normative, interpretive, and critical. The emerging paradigm of complexity theory. Chaos and complexity theories argue against the linear, deterministic, pattern, universalizable, stable, atomized, modernistic, objective, mechanist, controlled, closed system of law-like behavior which may be operating in the laboratory but which do not operate in the social world of education. Addressing complexity theory's argument for self-organization, the call is for the teacher as researcher movement to be celebrated, and complexity theory suggests that research is education could concern itself with the symbiosis of internal and external researchers and research partnership. Feminist research. Feminist research is challenges to legitimacy of research that does not empower oppressed and otherwise invisible groups women. AZ. Writes of the need to replace a traditional masculine picture of a science with an emancipatory commitment to knowledge that stems from a feminist perspective, since if women's experience is analyzed using only theories and observation from the standpoint of men. Positivist research serves a given set of power relations, typically empowering the white, male-dominated research community at the expense of other groups whose voices were silenced. Research politics and policy making. There is a significant tension between researchers and policy makers. The two parties have different and often conflicting interests, agenda, audience, timescales, terminology, and the other. So research and politics intertwine. The relationship between educational research, politics, and policy making are complex because research design strives to address a complex social reality. The issue of the connection between research and politics, power, and decision making is complex. The impact of research on policy making depends on its degree of consonance with the political agenda of government. Method and methodology. Kaplan suggests that the aim of methodology is to help us to understand in the broadest possible term not the product of scientific inquiry but the process itself. Merton and Kendall express the same sentiment. Social scientists have come to abandon the spurious choice between qualitative and quantitative data. They are concerned rather with the combination of both, which make use of the most valuable features of each. The problem becomes one of determining at which point they should adopt the one and which the other approach.